All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for game number 5 between Huck and MoonGlade. I cannot believe it actually went down to a 5th final game, and this is, I have confirmed, the ace match. It is the final game, and I cannot wait to see what happens. The map has been chosen. It is Shakuras Plateau, which I think is a pretty darn good map for both races. Yes, you might think, yeah, it's a good Zerg map because it's super wide open, lots of expansions. But one thing that Protoss players like to do on this map is go for a 2-gate opening. They'll actually throw down the pylon here, and then they'll go for an early aggressive play. It doesn't look like Huck is going to do that though, so I'm completely wrong. Scratch what I said. What I wanted to say is a lot of times Protoss players will open up with 2 gateways here early on. They'll apply early pressure, and then they'll get a Nexus down right here, and it's actually a very strong build in the early game. And in the mid to late game, a Protoss Death Ball of Colossus Void Ray is actually somewhat difficult to deal with on this map, especially if the Protoss players tend to engage around here at this centralized location. So it's not a super Zerg favored map. Yes, I think it's still Zerg favored, but I think Protoss players of all the races definitely have a fighting chance on this map against Zerg. So I'm so excited to be seeing what happens this game. Of all the games so far, I think this is going to be the longest one, and the reason why I say that, Shakuras Plateau, it is a wide open map. This is like this is like Central North America. It's just completely wide open. Open territory for all players to go and grab expansions and get some economy rolling. And hopefully I don't jinx it, because whenever we see a map on Shakuras Plateau and I always say, hey, this is going to be a nice long-term game, it ends up being a super short one. So I hope for once my prediction is going to be right. We do have a spawning pool going down for MoonGlade. It looks like he will be switching it up today. We usually see him going for gas and then pool or hatchery first, but this time he will be going for 16 or 14 pool. He's going to be going for 14 pool, and the Protoss player Huck, it looks like he's thrown down the gateway. He's going to be getting early second gas once again, and this kind of signals to me, hey, Void Rays. Possibly. Obviously, MoonGlade did scout it with the drone, so MoonGlade should be prepared. He's going to try to keep the drone and the Overlord alive for as long as possible to see exactly what Huck builds. And Huck here is going to try to get rid of this drone. He's actually focused 2 probes on it, and he's actually may actually kill it. The drone barely gets out of there with 5 HP, and there we go, Cybernetics core going down. So actually, it looks like MoonGlade was trying to delay the Cybernetics core, so that's a little nice play right there. Nifty, using the drone and just kind of circling around to prevent the Cybernetics core from going down. And now we finally have MoonGlade throwing down the hatchery. So a delayed fast expansion, Zerg player MoonGlade deciding to go for spawning pool before hatchery. And this just, it's kind of like going for 13 gas, 13 pool, and then hatchery, but not quite as aggressive. It's a little bit more of a defensive posture. Yes, he's going to have Zerglings, but no, he's not going to have speed. So we'll see how this works out. This is a familiar sight to all of us who've been watching the game so far. It looks like MoonGlade is going to try to bust down the gateway. We do have a chrono boosted sentry on the way, and the sentry obviously not as potent as a stalker, but the sentry can still do some pretty decent damage. And it is going to pop out a little bit after the shields deplete for the gateway. And it looks like now MoonGlade is going to have to fall back with his Zergling. So that's a familiar sight. Looks like this time, though, MoonGlade will not be able to break the gateway down. So Huck in a pretty good position. We do have 2 more gateways thrown down right now. And I do believe that Huck is just going to go for what seems to be 3 gates into expansion. Yes, there is a pylon going down at the front. It would be really cool to see right now, to see Huck throw down a Stargate and just go for 3-gate Stargate attack. And, you know, this pylon may be used as a diversion just to lure the Zerg player into a false sense of security. But hey, that might not be the play after all. I think Huck is actually going to throw down the Nexus. So yeah, there goes the Nexus. And Huck is just going super standard right now. 3 warp gates into Nexus. MoonGlade scouts out the Nexus, so now he knows that it is going to be an eco game for, I think we've seen a couple of eco games between these 2 players thus far, but so I think all the games have been relatively one-sided. No game has been super tight and super close. So here's to hoping another prediction holds up, and we're gonna see a nice long-term game that's actually very, very close and on the wire for both these players. So it looks like MoonGlade is going to get his second gas down. He's not going to go for lair yet. He's actually throwing up a ton of spine crawlers here. And is this the old MoonGlade that I used to know? The MoonGlade that throws up a a massive grid of spine crawlers and just goes straight up for Mutalisks. We saw him try to do that in the last game. It didn't work out too well, but I think that's because he was too hesitant with his Mutalisks. He allowed Huck to get a bunch of Templars out. He allowed Huck to get the Psionic Storm, and when Psionic Storm comes out, you know, Mutalisks are not that good for obvious reasons. So, is MoonGlade going to try to go for Spire once again? It does look like he's got Lair morphing out right now, and he does have Roach Warren, so he may get a combination of both. A couple of Roaches early on, and then he's going to transition into Mutalisks. We do have Huck here starting to move out. He has a super army of sentries. Call it the Super Sentry Squad. Triple S, S to your chest, Super Sentry Squad. It's going to be moving out here, and Huck, I don't know what he's going to try to do with this. Remember, sentries do pretty good DPS, but I don't know if this is going to be able to break a wall of spine crawlers. In fact, I'm pretty sure it won't be able to at all. So maybe Huck just kind of pushing out a little bit, testing the waters. He does have Hallucination on the way, so we're likely going to be seeing Hallucinated Phoenix once again just for scouting purposes. And this game very, very reminiscent of game number 1 as we switch over to MoonGlade's point of view, giving us a little bit of a mini seizure there. He's working on spreading his creep, which, as you guys all know, very important for the Zerg. Spread that creep out. Make sure you get the Zerg superhighway moving out and about. It does look like the Scouting Overlord is going to be detected, and it is going to be taken out. And that just really confirms for MoonGlade that Huck is going for mass gateways. He's just going for standard early Protoss expansion into gateways, and that signals to MoonGlade time to get another expansion. Don't fall behind to the Protoss army. Get a third going up, and you guys can see at the 10 o'clock we do have another Zerg expansion starting to morph out. Now as we switch over to Huck's player cam review, we can see that Huck is actually got his Hallucinated Phoenix starting to move out across the map. He's giving me a little bit of a seizure himself. He's gonna go ahead and fly in there, and we're gonna get off Huck's player cam because he's just too crazy. His APM is at 197 there. But he did actually scout out the Roaches, and so he is going to throw down a robotics facility. He knows it's time to get Immortals, as well as eventually teching up to Colossus. I'm actually surprised that Huck didn't decide to attack these backdoor rocks. This is an avenue of attack on Shakura's Plateau that players can use. You can actually just kind of waltz your way into the backside of the main in the mid to late game. So look for that to happen in this game. If my prediction is indeed correct and this game does end up going into the super late game. So we'll see. It looks like MoonGlade here is going to try to pick off the Hallucinated Phoenix with the Queen. Very nice creep spread, guys. Look at this. Super good creep spread from the Zerg player. And that's actually going to prevent the Protoss army from inching any more forwards, because the worst nightmare for any Protoss player is moving your ball of units in, and then all of a sudden a stream of forces coming in to attack you from all directions, especially with that creep bonus. It just becomes really, really difficult to deal with. And if you lose your entire army in the early game, that can really cost you. In fact, that can end the game for you as a Protoss player. So this is a little interesting right here. Look at MoonGlade. He's actually tucked all of his overlords towards the back, which I don't actually agree with. He should have realized that the Phoenix are hallucinated, and all these overlords here can be playing a key role in scouting. In fact, there's only really one overlord in position over here. It looks like Huck is gonna be breaking through the backside here. He's gonna be grabbing an expansion. This is super close to the Zerg main, and he's gonna be grabbing an expansion right in the Zerg player's face, and this sucks for MoonGlade because MoonGlade doesn't have any overlords in position. Oh, look at this. He does have an Overseer though, but he did not see the Protoss army advancing at the backside, and this is why you need to spread your overlords out. Even if there's Phoenixes around the map, you can't just tuck them all in the back right here, because now MoonGlade has no idea what's cooking in the back burner. He needs to get something rolling here. He has an army of Roaches and Hydralisks, but he's going to be dealing with Colossus soon. The Colossus have extended Thermal Lance on the way, but I don't think Huck is going to wait for that. He's going to break down the backdoor rocks first. Do note another hatchery coming up at the top side. I think that MoonGlade is going to find himself to be in a bit of trouble here. He has a Roach Hydra army. Some gateways being morphed out here. This is so bold from Huck. Huck says, in your face, any day I can build bases in your base. And the Thermal Lance is almost here. We do have one Colossus. Where's his buddy at? Usually Colossus don't come out single file like that, but Oh, there it is. He's an early bird. So the two Colossus are finally here. MoonGlade gonna run his Overseer in. He sees what is up. He knows now the danger, and I'm surprised he's not building any spine crawlers over here. He really could use a couple of spine crawlers here or there. He's actually scrambling right now to get Corruptors out. He knows that he needs Corruptors to deal with the Colossus like he did in game number 2, I believe. Both players pretty even in economy. If we switch to the army tab, the Zerg player a little bit ahead, so things are looking pretty decent for both players. But remember, Huck is getting this 3rd expansion up. The Zerg player needs to get a 4th up in order to keep toe and keep match with the Protoss player, and Huck is going to advance forward with his Colossus just to get a little bit of fire off, and he's going to try to whittle down some of the Zerg infrastructure as well as the army. He's going to whittle down the spawning pool in the yellow, now going down to the orange. It's going to start to bleed out some of the blood. I don't know if this is a good position for MoonGlade, because remember, if he wants to defend, he has to barrel his way down the ramp, and the Protoss player can just force field heaven. But if he just sits back here, then he's going to lose his spawning pool. So, hey, is he building a new spawning pool? Yes, he is. Just starting a new one right there. So, gotta catch my breath after that one. I felt like an auctioneer. But MoonGlade just lost his spawning pool. Not a big deficit. And Huck just applying a little bit of pressure. So, nice play from Huck. Things are looking pretty on the wire. Remember, this is game number 5. Whoever wins this game will win the entire series, so everything is on the line right now. What upgrade is this? I barely ever see this thing. It is actually Gravitic Boosters, which is actually the upgrade, I believe, to make the Warp Prism a little bit faster. I believe. I can't believe I don't even know the upgrade for that. But anyways, it looks like MoonGlade gonna barrel his way down the ramp, realizing that there are no sentries here. He needs to get up the ramp though before the sentry locks a force field. Oh, locking out 3 Hydralisks and a Roach. Not too bad though. MoonGlade got his way up there before things got too disastrous. I'm surprised MoonGlade is not spreading the creep a little bit more down, but the Colossus are making it very difficult for creeps to spread. And oh my god, Huck is going to push his way forward. He launches a bunch of force fields. It prevents the Zerg army from getting us surrounded. The Colossus is going to do so much damage. The Corruptors trying to corrupt the Colossus. I'm getting tongue-tied right there, but it looks like the Corruptors may actually kill off all the Colossus, but at the same time, all the Roaches and Hydras are getting toasty-roasty. 20 Roaches on the way on the production tab. So if these 20 Roaches can pop out, then I think that MoonGlade will be able to defend. Huck forced a fallback. Huck, remember, has this expansion running quite nicely, but this expansion, this expansion is running quite nicely for Huck. So right now it is 3 base to 4 base, so it is completely even right now. It is on the wire, very difficult to tell what's going to happen. All my predictions have come true so far, guys, so high five to that. I think that MoonGlade is going to sacrifice all his Corruptors and pick off that Colossus. He kills the Colossus, and only 1 or 2 Corruptors going down, 1 in the red, so this game